Hey folks, what's going on? Yevgeny here. This is your weekly Day One Careers free live interview coaching. Normally it's with Gigi and myself, but today Gigi is unavailable, and so you guys are stuck with me. But I'm here for the whole hour to answer any questions that you have about interviewing at Amazon. So, a little bit about myself and Day One Careers. So, if you know anything, you know that Gigi and we've been running Day One Careers since about February 2022. Before that, both Gigi and I used to work at Amazon. We had many different roles and capacities, but in one of those, we were both senior leaders and interviewers and hiring managers. And Gigi was also a bar raiser. So at some point in time, both Gigi and myself figured out that interview skills matter when it comes to interviewing at Amazon, and there are way too many super qualified people with great functional skills, great experience on their resumes that would never get a job at Amazon because their interview skills wouldn't up to scratch. So we both started experimenting with in this area. So for example, I started giving candidates a little bit of coaching during the first phone screen before passing them to the second phone screen just to see how the results would improve. And then Gigi, I believe, left Amazon and already set up her interview preparation business. And then at some point in time, one of the candidates that worked with both of us said that you guys are the best in the industry and you should meet up. And so we met up and then we merged our businesses together under the brand Day One Careers. And so here we are, folks. So the way that before we get to the bulk of the story, to the bulk of the session, you guys know what we do, right? So we obviously have this YouTube channel. We've got plenty of free content, our blog, our YouTube channel. We also have amazing suite of interview prep materials, which is called Amazon Interview Success System, that has both the course content and the AI tools that we built to help you guys upload all of your stories, review them, and prepare for the interview. So we do this once a week to help you guys answer any questions on Amazon interviews on the behavioral side. And so the way that we do this is you ask us a question in the chat box, and I know that a few of you guys have been already asking questions in the chat box. So we're going to bring them up. I'm going to bring them up here on the screen. And if it's something that's within my area of expertise, I will make sure to respond to all of your questions. Just a couple of notes of housekeeping before we get into it. Number one, if you have a particularly long question, the YouTube chat box will force you to split it into parts because I don't actually know how many characters you can write in that YouTube chat box. But anyway, if you've got a long question, just split it into parts and tell me which part it is, 1, 2, 3, and I will be able to locate all of the parts and answer your question. Then if you have a very generic question, like tell me, give me some tips about interviewing at Amazon, then I'll have to refer you back to our YouTube channel, which has a ton of various generic or general tips about interviewing at Amazon. Or on the other hand, if you've got something very specific functionally, like you're interviewing for a data center pre-construction manager, Amazon does have these roles, incidentally. Then, unfortunately, on the functional side, we won't be able to advise because there are pre-construction, there are data center pre-construction managers at Amazon. There are also supply chain managers, marketing managers, software developers. So it's impossible to know every single job family and job code. But if your question is on the behavioral side, then we will be able to help. So that's pretty much it, folks. And I'm just gonna start looking at the chat history to see what we're gonna be bringing up. And we've got okay, amazing. Someone already has the discipline of part 1, part 2, and part 3. So let's get into it. Mauro, welcome. So let's get into your question. So tomorrow I'll have my phone interview for the role Senior GTM Specialist AI/ML for Generative AI. Great. While I have a strong experience in go-to-market, I have a moderate to low experience in AI/ML and no experience in generative AI. Should I expect technical question on AI/ML? So, um, Mara, typically with roles like these, which despite the fact that there is a very strong functional element of these roles, they're still classified as non-technical, which means that there are no standardized, widespread formal assessments of anything that has to do with your domain knowledge or technical expertise. This is not to say that you're not going to get any questions, but what I'm trying to say is that it's going to be up to the individual team and individual hiring manager within that team to legislate how exactly they want those skills assessed. It is possible that they would want to ask you some questions about your domain expertise in the AI and machine learning, and which includes the generative AI. It is possible, but the only person who will actually um, um, the only person that will actually know uh, what exactly will be the content of your interview is your recruiter. So, and this is something that they would normally be able to tell you in the sense, you can ask them, should I be expecting any functional or technical questions during those interviews, and they will advise you. But if I were you, I would come prepared with the things that you know and be transparent about the things that you don't. Hopefully the questions that they, if they do decide to ask you functional questions, it will be something concrete and specific, as opposed to just asking you general stuff like, so what do you know about generative AI? I'm really hoping that on the functional side, their interviewing approach and their interviewing skills will be better. And so you will still stand the chance to actually respond well to those questions in case they will ask you something that is still within your area of expertise. But good luck, Mauro. And if you have any follow up questions, feel free to post them here in the chat as well. So let's keep going. And guys, as we're going through the questions in the chat history, just get those going. Folks on LinkedIn, I see that in Gigi's profile, we've got folks, we've got LinkedIn that is live, we've got X that is live. So if you're watching this on LinkedIn, just type a comment underneath the stream, and that should immediately pull it into my chat box here. On X, unfortunately, there is no way to pull replies or comments into the StreamYard just yet. So apologies for that. Right, let's get back into the questions. So this one is from Rahul. What would be the salary range for an L5 in Amazon? I do understand from region to region it will change. However, an approximate range, and what could be the salary breakup? And then there's, I believe, another one. After waiting 2 days, I followed up with my recruiter. I got response from a recruiting coordinator. The response was, please note that your application is currently being reviewed by the hiring team. Once the next steps have been confirmed, I will get in touch with you. I was expecting results of my phone interview with the hiring manager. However, it seems that I need to wait more. Just to add to the request for timeline as well, or they are still considering other applications parallelly for the same position. Right. Well, let me answer this question first, and then we can get to the salary. So, no, they should not be comparing your. They should not be comparing you to other candidates. That's pretty self-explanatory. So Amazon's interview system is what we call first past the post, meaning the first person that raises the bar during the interview process is the one who gets the job. And it's the same with all decisions at every interview stage. Decisions at every interview stage must be made in respect to whether the person who interviews you thinks that you will raise the bar or not raise the bar. The bar at Amazon is not external. It's not comparing you to anyone external, to external candidates, to the same folks who are interviewing. That's not what they should be doing. What they should be doing, and what I am 99.9999% I'm confident that they're doing is there it's just a it's just a delay. So they're not comparing you with any other external candidates. They are there's simply a delay, and your recruiter seems to be responsive, which is good. So they advised you that they will get back to you, and to be honest, unless they don't get back to you within the next week, I would start following up again. um, uh, it is unusual that they are not getting back to you after 2 business days after your phone screen. The candidate promise that is widely publicized at Amazon is that they should be coming back to you with a decision after your phone screen in 2 days. Sometimes things happen and they don't. Trust me, internally, it's not a great thing if you're a hiring manager and you're unable to come back to get back to the candidate within the 2 business days, because there are different mechanisms that try to enforce the candidate promises. So in most cases, when they cannot fulfill this promise, it is for a good reason. So um basically I am kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt, because unless proven otherwise, always assume positive or neutral intent. That's my mantra, and that's my experience that's been at Amazon. Now, to your first question about the range for an L5 salary. I can't give you one, unfortunately, because there is no range for an L5 at Amazon, as there is no range for an L6 or an L7. The compensation ranges, and by the way, this is not just Amazon, this is just generally how compensation ranges tend to work in big organizations. What determines a compensation range is an intersection of a few dimensions. Number one, the functional area of the role, which is captured by what Amazon would call a job family, right? So that's one thing. The second thing is this a people manager role? Is this not a people manager role? Because, and again, this is not just at Amazon, this is just about anywhere. People managers, generally speaking, they get a little bit of a premium pound for pound, right? At different companies, that premium is bigger, smaller, but there is usually a premium pound for pound for a for roles that are people managers. Then you correctly noted that there is the location of the role, because Amazon pays cost of labor as opposed to cost of living. So all of these things together, they will drive the compensation range, right? Now, we don't have any confidential information about compensation ranges at Amazon. However, we would recommend that you research that compensation range within pay scales, within levels.fyi. We're not affiliated by any of these websites. They don't pay us anything. So, it's just what other candidates have found useful. Also, try teamblind.com, the anonymous social media network. You can post your package, your offer, if you're comfortable doing so anonymously, and you'll get folks feeding back on where it is in terms of the range. Is it on the low side, on the high side? So these are the kinds of things that you need to do. In terms of this split, this split might vary, and it also depends on your negotiations. I would say that for L5s, again, based on our very limited knowledge of the candidate salaries, because again, we don't have every single candidate who gets a job coming to us and sharing their package. It tends to be something along the lines of in the first 2 years, it tends to be sort of almost not 90-10 cash to stock, and then it kind of drops down so that your stock is the proportion kind of grows to to 30-40 and more. And again, it really depends on the level. So at junior levels, cash is a bigger element, versus at more senior levels, stock becomes bigger element. But anyway, the point is, there is no range for an L5. There is no range for an L5 for a specific location. There are many different elements. When you search for your compensation info, type in into that search bar when you're going to Team Blind, just type in as much information as you can. Like, I'm looking for L5 program manager, Seattle, something like that, so that you can get as specific to something that someone might have posted there as possible. So that's what you should be doing. All right, so let's keep going. Okay, so there's more from Mauro. On the phone screen, should I expect only tell me about yourself, or only tell me about a time questions, and how many of them? So during the phone screen, you can expect a mix and match or a pick and mix of just about anything that they want to throw at you. And the reason why is because phone screens aren't as regimented as loops. There is no bar raiser in the phone screen. And if you're being phone screened by the hiring manager, to be honest, that hiring manager might want to check your functional fit, check your motivational fit, um, get you to talk about how your role, how your roles and experience to date have prepared you for the role at Amazon that you're applying for. So everything and anything of the above, including the leadership principles questions. Again, what I would do, so separate the technical and the non-technical part, because you can have the non-technical part is during phone screens. Typically, it is why Amazon, tell me about yourself, and then one or two leadership principles questions based on those LPs that the hiring manager believes to be the most important for this role. Now, on the technical side, this is something that you need to figure out with the recruiter. What is it that what's the plan? Are they going to be asking you any technical depth, domain knowledge, any questions like that? And then you can sort of piece together what might be your phone screen menu. Phone screens are a bit flexible. They're a bit of a catch-all interview scenario. So if I were you, I would be preparing for why Amazon, tell me about yourself. Try to find out what leadership principles are important for this role. If you can't find out, scan the job description. If that doesn't help, just pay Gigi. She runs a service where she will try and do it for you. She'll look at your job description and will try to extract the keywords that correspond to the leadership principles that are coming through from the job description, and prepare example scenarios and situations for those. And then, yes, do follow up with your recruiter about the technical aspect of your role. Let's keep going. So there's some more context here. The interviewer will be one of the senior managers in the overall global team and organization for the region. What questions do you suggest to ask him? Generally, we suggest that you ask whatever questions that are important to you. Our general guidance is don't look at asking questions as a way to manipulate the outcome of your interview, because technically speaking, the questions that you are asking, they don't count towards the decision, right? It's usually if the candidate doesn't ask any questions at all, this is when it starts raising alarm bells. But there are no right questions to ask. And I guess what we're always trying to tell all candidates and everyone who we work with and all of our coaching clients, approach this opportunity as to genuinely ask questions about the team and the culture and the business that you're joining, because this is one of the most important decisions that you will make in your life. You are picking a place where you will physically be for the majority of your life for the upcoming future. So it's not a decision that anyone should take lightly. And I guess what Amazon would probably want to see is that you're not taking this lightly. You know, you figured out what you want to know, and you might know, you have some assumptions which you might have demonstrated to them in the why Amazon responses, but then you might have some gaps naturally, right? Because not everything about Amazon is published, and that's why the questions that you're asking during your interviews, they allow you to plug those gaps. And by the way, feel free to either vary your questions across the interview stages, or ask every single interviewer exactly the same set of questions. That's what I was doing. I had one set of questions and I was asking every single interviewer exactly the same question. And then I was triangulating the results to try and figure out what's it really like to work there. So there you go. I hope this was useful. So this one is from Sean. And the question is, I have an initial 30-minute call with the recruiter, senior client lead, today to review the progress. Anything I need to prepare for this? Not really. Not really. I mean, it depends on where your progress is as well. I mean, is it, are you done with your loop? Because it's unclear kind of where you are. Are you the phone screen stage or the loop stage? Um, we typically, again, based on the hard knocks of of life, yeah, of life, preparing folks for these interviews. So until you get the decision, it's always 50-50. Just look at it as 50-50. It's impossible to predict what the outcome is. Don't read into anyone's reactions. Don't read into the invitations for calls. Yes, it is true that based on our experience, if there is a decision not to progress with the candidate, in most cases, it's just an email. And so, again, in most cases, based on our experience and the experience in our candidates that we work with, when there is a call with a recruiter, there's something positive to discuss. Okay. That being said, has it happened that when the recruiter when the recruiter offered you to join a call to review progress, that it was a negative decision? Yes, it has happened. So as far as your case is concerned, just go there with an open mind, expect any decision, and as with everything, until there is a decision, it's always 50-50, and don't read too much into anything. All right, let's keep going. So this is a question from Kushagra. By the way, Kushagra, if I've butchered your name, please, my apologies, because um, I've been living in the UK since 2009, and my name has been butchered a million times, so I know what it feels like. But I try not to butcher people's names, but we still do. Gigi and I both do. So if I've done that, my apologies. Please do tell me. Anyway, so your question is, so I have a phone screening tomorrow. Please suggest how to answer telling me about yourself. Should I go the whole experience or just relevant? I have 7 years of work experience in different domains. Any suggestions? Right. So tell me about yourself is the only thing that they're really interested in is how your experience to date has prepared you to excel in the role that you're applying to. That's pretty much it. And I know that this is a bit counterintuitive because the question sounds tell me about yourself. And I know that again, based on the work that we're doing with our coaching clients, in a lot of cases, when we train this, folks go, well, they tell me about their life journeys and hobbies and whatnot. In reality, what Amazon wants to know is how has your experience to date prepared you for the role at Amazon, and also how has it prepared you for the Gigi to joining our session today.
Hello. Sorry. Thank you. Sorry I'm late, folks. Just back from picking my daughter up from her school on the other side of town.
I actually told everyone that you're not going to be joining, so imagine
Oh, the
the
excitement.
rejoicing and
Oh,
the excitement.
there's probably a hallelujah going on in
Yeah.
people's heads. Yeah, sure.
Oh gosh, you know that hallelujah moment? What it associates in my head is there was this game called Worms where they throw bombs at each other. It was very popular in like early 2000s, and there was one bomb there. It's called the holy bomb, and when you throw it, it goes hallelujah, and then it blows half of the screen in your face. I
Okay.
loved it.
That wasn't really what I was aiming for, but
Nope.
there's a little insight into your psyche.
Um, right. Do you know what? Let me just go back to. Okay, so I've just finished answering the Kushagra's question. Do you want me to do the next one while you're kind of scanning through the line, or would you want to jump straight in?
Yeah, I have to catch up with you as to where exactly you are on the
It's
list. So you've
this
got
one.
Jason, right? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to take Jason, or do you want me to take Jason and you'll?
I'll take Jason because I've just spoken to Jason a few minutes ago. So, hey, Jason, I just sent you all of your notes. I'm really sorry. I said 5 o'clock and then forgot that you were in a different time zone to me and you would have no idea what 5 o'clock actually was. So, hey, right. So, could we talk about compensation packages? Okay. And the process after interview? Will I be presented with an offer at the same time as getting notified about the results of the loop interview? Okay. So I will make my attempt at this, and then I'm sure Yevgeny will also have something to chip in. So In terms of compensation packages, right. So I don't know if I've got something about this on the channel. I don't think I do. So I should put something on there. But compensation package, loads of information out there in the world about how Amazon structures its compensation, but we will go over that now. So there's three parts to the Amazon compensation. One is base salary, one is bonus, and one is RSUs. Bonus is a number that I think 3 years, if I'm right, they give you a bonus that is spread out across 3 years. When they make the initial offer, it has a 4-year window. So they'll, instead of saying, like most companies, oh, we will give you a base salary of, I don't know, $150,000, what they'll say is, here is your 4-year projection, essentially. And in this 4-year projection, here is what we are proposing to give you in terms of base salary across each of those 4 years, which will be flat. Here's what we propose to give you in terms of bonus over the course of those 4 years. And that will be a decreasing number, the highest at year one, then lower year two, then lower year three. And then the third layer is, here are the RSUs, the stock that we are going to give you over those 4 years. And that will have its lowest number at year one, then it will get higher year two, and then probably even out around year three and year four. What they are trying to do is achieve what they call a total compensation. Total comp, and they're aiming to have that number relatively flat across those 4 years based on the combination of base, sign-on bonus, and RSUs. So that's why when sign-on bonus goes down, RSUs go up. So they're effectively goal seeking to have a total compensation, which is the aggregated value of all of those three different chunks. They'll use I think the most recent trailing 15-day stock price, I think that's it, to make the estimate for how many RSUs they want to give you. So that's how the compensation package works. In terms of, will you get an offer at the same time as being notified about the results of the loop interview? Most likely not. Usually what will happen is either your recruiter will send you an email, or they'll ask you to jump on a call with them, and they will tell you that, yes, you have been, you've made it through the loop, and that Amazon would like to make you an offer. Quite often it will be, okay, so what are your expectations? Because then they'll take that information and then take it away and go and share that with the compensation and benefits team. The compensation and benefits team are the team that are responsible for calculating the offer that's going to come to you. Hiring manager has next to nothing to do with it whatsoever, and the recruiter is only an in-between person. They basically compile a little bit of a brief, I suppose you would call it, for the compensation and benefits team, with information about you, your expectations, how well you did in the debrief, etc. And that data would go to compensation and benefits. Compensation benefits will then send it back to the recruiter. If the recruiter thinks that it's a reasonable enough offer, they'll then share it with you. If they don't, they'll then go back to the compensation and benefits team, and there'll be a little bit of a backwards and forwards. So in the main, I believe in the majority of cases, you won't get that specific offer at the same conversation as the fact that being told that you have passed the interview. You might, you might not. So be prepared to have that conversation about compensation, or not have that conversation if you bought our compensation salary negotiation course. That's it. We tell you quite clearly there not to have conversations immediately about compensation, but be prepared, know what you want, and then if you do get presented an offer when the recruiter speaks to you, at least you're not on the back foot. A little bit of extra info, Jason, you didn't ask it, but I think it's useful. In terms of how negotiable the compensation is, Yevgeny and I will tell you, always negotiate. Always negotiate. Even if you think it's a good offer, negotiate. In terms of your negotiation, in terms of order in which Amazon is more likely to be flexible, they're more likely to be flexible on RSUs. So if you want more money but you don't need it in cash, go for the RSU line, much more flexible there. The next line is on the bonus, because obviously it's not a long-term commitment for them. It's a number that will deplete to nothing after the 3-year period. And then the last thing they're generally willing to negotiate on is the base compensation. Is there anything that you would add, Yevgeny?
Nope.
Ah,
No.
ah,
Uh,
ah.
so
Well done,
So
me.
extensive.
I've been listening to Yevgeny for years now, so I've basically told you everything that he's ever said before. I can't claim any of it.
It's the same. It's like, it's like we should come up with a name like Jedward, you know?
That's just creepy.
Yeah, very creepy.
Right.
Anyway, there's just two nice Irish lads. Okay, so this one is from I'm gonna assume this is Nechi. Nechi, I'm gonna assume it's a Turkish name, but please correct me if I'm wrong. Look, folks, we're butchering names here. This is I
Left, right,
told
and
you.
center. It's a
I
skill.
told them. I told them that look, this is the first thing I told them when I started the session. We're going to be butchering names. So Nechi, if you are not Nechi, if you're something else, do tell
Sorry.
me. Sorry. Right. Anyway, so the question is, I have a loop coming up. The recruiter told me that I'll have 4 behavioral interviews, and I should expect questions covering 2 leadership principles per interview. How many questions should I expect? So it's typically, I would say it's typically 2 questions per leadership principle. So if your interview covers 2 leadership principles, I would get prepared to have 2 stories per leadership principle, because your interviewers will typically come prepared with 2 questions per leadership principle. Does it mean that they're going to be have the time to ask all of them? It depends. It depends on how long your stories run for. It depends how inquisitive the interviewer is, how many Q&A sort of little bits there will be, how many questions, follow-up questions and drill downs they will have. But typically, if you get yourself ready with two stories per leadership principle, and you expect 2 questions per leadership principle, that should set you up. Anything you'd add, Gigi?
Nope. That's it. Okay, so I've noticed the time. So this is our favorite time of the whole show. So, folks, little interlude. Basically, we have a little request for you, and it's a super, super tiny, won't take you 2 seconds type request. The type of request I ask my children for, and they never do. So here it goes. We put a massive amount of effort into building this channel, into doing these weekly lives for you, into amazing blogs and content on our website, freebies that we'll give you that you can, if you hang around until the end, you'll get all free, tons of work into it. In return, we just ask a tiny thing of you, which is whenever you're watching any of our videos, including this one, please do give it a like, thumbs up, whatever you want to call it. Basically, doing that tells the YouTube algorithm 2 things. Number 1, this is good quality content that people like. And number 2, that they have surfaced this content to the right type of person, which means that will then feed the algo, which will then continue to surface our content to the right type of people who are looking for it, and surface us above a whole bunch of other complete rubbish that exists on YouTube, with some crazy advice that Jason and I were talking about earlier, which I will share with you a little bit later on, Yevgeny, from some other people here on YouTube. We are without doubt confident that we have the most comprehensive channel with the most straight down the line, no BS, no messing about content on YouTube. If you could give us a little thumbs up for every single video you watch, including this one, it would make a huge difference to us, but also to all of those other candidates out there who I know you would want to get the benefit that you're getting from. So if you haven't already, because I can see the numbers just shot up, so I can see the number here, folks, we're just going to do a little entertainment moment. I'm not sure actually it really does qualify as entertainment, but nonetheless, a little interlude where you can just like this stream for us, and then we will get on with the show. So it is a little bit loud, folks. I've never managed to work out how to turn down the volume on this, and God only knows where the original content is. So if you have headphones on like me, you might just want to pop them slightly back, and you can get the pleasure of this little musical interlude, and then we will get back to the show. So here we go.
Please like the stream now. Please like the stream now. Please like the stream now. Please like the stream. 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 Like the stream.
There
We
go.
lost 8 people.
Oh well. Yeah,
Mm,
we always lose some people at that interlude. Maybe we should quit it. I don't know. It just always amuses me, but I'm obviously maybe an outlier. There we go.
I say let's keep doing it.
You think, sod
Yeah.
them, as they would say here in London. Right,
Mm.
let's get back to it, Yevgeny. Do you want to pick the next one?
I can. I did the previous one. The next one
Oh, did you?
is
Oh, I'm sorry. Here's me
no, no,
getting
it's okay. But
overexcited.
I think Balaji is next.
And here's a face I recognize because that is a sharp photo, and I remember seeing that sharp photo before.
Beautiful. Okay. Do you want me to do it then?
I'll do it. It's okay. I was asked about technical questions apart from leadership principles. Is it normal and should I answer with the STAR method as well? Okay, so yes, it would be very normal for certain roles to be asked technical questions. So Yevgeny and I would call that kind of functional questions where people are really trying to understand, do you have the knowledge set and the skills and the experience to actually operate the particular role that you're being hired for? So yes, that is normal. Should you answer in the STAR method? That actually depends on the nature of the question that you're asked. So if you are asked a functional question that asks you, if maybe we're talking about software development engineering, how would you go about building a solution that for X that is scalable, etc., then you can't follow that with the STAR model. Someone is specifically asking you to show them how you would build X solution. But if you were asked a question of what would you do if, so a hypothetical type question to test your technical skills, if possible, Yevgeny and I suggest you turn that hypothetical into a behavioral question. If you have got experience of doing that specific thing in the past, rather than hypothetically saying, if I was in that situation, I would do this, what you can do is say, oh, well, funnily enough, I have been in that situation before, and let me just describe to you exactly what I did. And then you can very comfortably fall into the STAR model, which is, well, the situation was this, my task was to do this, these are all of the actions that I took, and here's the result that I came out with. So you're just going to need to be a little bit more agile in terms of what how you choose to approach the answer, but it's very much driven by the nature of the question that you're asked.
Agreed. All agreed. Okay. Let's move on to Shazia. So it's a multi-part question. So part one, I had my loop interview last Thursday, and on Friday I received an email from a recruiter saying that the team enjoyed speaking with me and would like to invite me for a final round. Interesting. I was under the impression that the loop is the final round, so I'm unsure why there is an additional round. Is this normal? What should I expect from here? I have a group call scheduled with a recruiter tomorrow. Any idea what this is about? No,
No,
not
this
the
is
slightest.
wild. Up until the point where you said group call, I was thinking, okay, I think I can come up with a hypothesis
It's
for
a
what's happened
flyback.
here. Yeah, exactly. But if there's a group call, that makes no sense whatsoever. So do you
Yeah,
want to
so
explain
we've
to Shazia what a flyback is, and then not that that helps because we don't think it's that, but still.
no, but again, for anyone who might experience this, so yeah, so I would say in the absolute majority of cases, the loop is indeed the final stage, and that's it. After that, it's either higher or no higher. But in some very specific cases, the hiring team might decide to invite the candidate back for an additional interview, which is usually just one interview. And it's basically to clarify something or to test the candidate on something that that the panel was on the cusp about, and they're completely unable to make a decision. Um, I have seen one such case happen in my interviewing history. Obviously, Gigi will have a lot more interviewing history because she was a bar raiser. And during our coaching and educating career, I remember one person who had a flyback, but the reason for that flyback, the reason why Amazon went back to them and said, hey, can you come back for an interview, is because they made a mistake while they were interviewing that candidate, and they repeated the same leadership principle. So she had two people interviewing her in the same leadership principle, which shouldn't have happened. It was a scheduling mistake. So in those cases, people do sometimes get invited for flybacks, but these are These are incredibly rare. Your case is something completely different. It looks like there is a group call and it's a final stage. The only thing, and Gigi, I'm just thinking on the fly here, the only thing I can think about is some sort of functional stuff, like a case presentation or something like that, that they maybe forgot to do, but that's the only thing that my mind stretches.
Yeah, but I mean, Shazia says that it's an L6 accounting manager. So yeah, may the fact that she's got a group call is what I'm finding a little bit wild, because if it is the case that they missed out doing a functional test, which is very possible from an accounting manager standpoint, you would want to functionally test SQL and maybe some other things. Then maybe if they missed that, calling Shazia back would make sense. But the fact that it's a group call scheduled with the recruiter, that usually only happens ahead of people going actually into the interview process, where recruiters are basically just chucking a whole bunch of candidates onto a group call and briefing them ahead of phone screen one so that they can just scale the process. So Shazia, we're going to just have to tell you we're baffled and we have no idea what's going on. And I would ask your recruiter, really, either on the call tomorrow. Did you say it was tomorrow? No, you didn't. But either on the call or sending them an email. And then once you know, can you come back next week and tell us? Because obviously we would love to know and understand what's going on there. Because to us, that seems crazy to have a group call after a loop. Before the
Yes,
phone
yes,
screen
indeed.
starts, yeah, but after a loop, nah.
No.
And just FYI, I was a flyback. Would you believe it? So my boss really wanted to hire me, but one of my peers, who was effectively his number two, did not want to hire me. And he wasn't backing down, and she wasn't backing down. So the bar raiser suggested I have a flyback with the VP so that he could then get a sense of me. And then obviously he liked me and I got the job. But they do, as Yevgeny says, they're rare, but they do happen.
Gigi, if it was up to me, you would have never been a fly back, and the person who opposed would have been a fly out. But hey ho, I'm biased, and I don't work for Amazon anymore.
Yeah, no, to be fair, we did work together and we got on really, really well and we had a great relationship. And she absolutely said I was wrong, and I'm really glad that Jay
Well done, you
Marine,
guys. Well
Jay
done.
Marine, and hired you. But yeah, right. Anyway, moving on. Jason, okay, so is this yours or mine now? I can't remember. I've totally lost the
So this
plot.
would be yours.
Right, okay. Jason, okay. So I'm going to do this relatively quickly because there's not a huge amount of information I can give you. But so you've given us the base salary and you're asking what factors are considered giving the higher end of that range. So it's going to be, from an inputs perspective, it's going to be what you've already told the recruiter you're willing to accept as compensation, and the outcome of your debrief. So if your debrief is an all inclined, i.e., absolutely everybody wants to hire you, and you've already told the recruiter that you want a number that's actually quite high in the range, that information then goes to the compensation and benefits team, and that is a good driver to get them to give you a more generous offer on the actual scale itself. Beyond that, the actual variables are going to be things like, bear in mind, we don't work in compensation and benefits, and we've never seen the algorithm and we've never seen all of the inputs. So I have to be honest, speculating here to a large degree. But it will be things like, how long have I had the job posting open? How hard has it been to try and fill that job posting? How urgent is the need to close that job posting? And then a bunch of other kind of internal Amazon data points around where the actual population is lying on that scale of the compensation band. Because ultimately, what Amazon is always going to do, as all companies will try and do, is get everybody earning the average. There will always be people at the top and always at the bottom, but they're always goal seeking the average for everybody. That's as much as I know, I'm afraid, never seen the actual inputs to the algorithm. Hope that helps even a tiny bit.
I would just
Okay,
add that the cost of living that you mentioned in there will not be considered. It's not a factor.
no.
That's all.
All right. Do you want to pick the next one?
Yeah. I had a telephonic interview in a couple of days. The role is related to concessions. Which leadership principles should I more focus on for the telephonic interview? No clue. Sorry. That's a short answer. The long answer is The only way to know what leadership principles that you should be focusing on is to either ask the recruiter or ask the hiring manager, whoever you can reach, and pop the question directly. In some cases, they're going to say, well, here they are. In some cases, they're going to tell you that they either don't know or they're not allowed to share those. Then your next port of call is the job description. Have a look at the job description, scan it, look for the keywords that correspond to the leadership principles, and try to squeeze out the list of LPs from the job description. We have 2 videos in our channel where Gigi is actually doing it live. She's dissecting a job description and tells you how you can do this yourself. If that doesn't work, then Gigi runs a service when she can do it for you. So that would be my recommendation. Anything you'd add?
Nope, nothing I would add. Right. So actually, funnily enough, the next person has actually been given their LPs. So there we go. That just goes to show you can actually get the LPs. So Elon76 has been given 5 key LPs to focus on. You're aiming to prepare 20 to 25 stories. That's quite a big number. Should I just be focused on the key LPs I was given, or do I need stories for all LPs? Okay, so that's kind of hard to know, Elon, because it does. 5 seems a low number to me, but that does depend on how many interviewers you're having. So some very junior roles only have 2 interviews, and therefore 5 LPs would not be an unreasonable number. Even if you had 3 LPs, 3 interviewers, 5 LPs wouldn't be an unreasonable number. But if you're talking about 4 interviewers, 5 interviewers, then 5 key LPs seems like quite a low number to me. If I were you, I would be reaching back out to my recruiter to ask them whether you should expect to only be asked these 5 key leadership principles, or whether these are just the most important leadership principles and others might surface. Because without that information, I would not want to give you an answer lest I lead you astray. Anything to
Makes
add,
sense.
Yevgeny?
No, nothing to add. Let's keep going. So this one is from Balaji. How do I find the interview's likability and success rate about my final loop interview? Are there any symptoms I can note of? I'm not entirely sure I understand what you mean by likability and success rate about your interview. I'm thinking what you mean is, how do you find whether a particular interviewer is whether they're inclined to hire you or not. That's how I'm reading this. And if that's how I'm reading this, then unfortunately there's no way for you to find this out, at least not through any official channels. Like you can't. It's not an information that they will share until they actually make that decision, in which case you will either get an email or a call from the recruiter to announce their decision. But if I misunderstood your question, Balaji, please do let me know. And Gigi, do you have a different reading on this?
Nope. Nope, that's what I
Okay.
thought. Okay, so we can jump a few. Oh, and Balaji's got another question there, so let's quickly pop that up. My story sometimes covers 2 or 3 LPs. Is it good to have such stories, or should I keep a specific LP? So our advice would be, plan to have a story that is specific to it. It has call it a hero LP. Then there may be other bits of information in it that suggest other LPs. That's great. But in order to have a story that has enough depth of detail about a specific leadership principle, you do need to have your story focused on that leadership principle. Sometimes people try and just build a story that touches on multiple leadership principles, and it ends up not going into enough detail about any of them. So have a hero leadership principle and then a couple of sub leadership principles, and that will be fine.
Cool. Okay. More from Mauro. The initial 30-minute call as the very first step of the interviewing process will be the first contact with the recruiter. Should we prepare for it? Generally, yes. Prepare for all job interviews, including this one. I would say prepare for something that is more like a phone interview. So a combination of why Amazon, tell me about yourself, some leadership principles, maybe some questions about something related to your domain knowledge and technical depth. So just brush up on your resume. But otherwise, yeah, just expect more like a phone screen type interview, and also they might ask you a question about your expected compensation. So do research some ranges for the role that you're applying to, and then pick an ambitious number just to prevent them from grounding you into a low number, and then be very happy clappy that the candidate isn't negotiating too much. Anything you'd add, Gigi?
No, I mean, recruiters tend not to focus too much on behavioral/leadership principle focus questions, because they kind of know that you haven't had any time to prepare. And if you did answer it, it wouldn't be a particularly kind of deep one. So I wouldn't over prepare on the leadership principles. But to Yevgeny's point, definitely be prepared to talk about specific projects, your resume, all of the things that Yevgeny was talking about. But I personally wouldn't over prepare. I have to have 20 examples for all the different leadership principles, because
Yeah, don't do that.
at that high up in the funnel, you won't need that. Okay, so we have Sean. So we're just going to quickly say congratulations to Sean. So yay, well done, Sean. Can I do the fireworks? How do I do the fireworks? Come on, computer, do it. No, don't do it. Honestly, it's again, it's like my children. Sometimes it does what it's told and sometimes it doesn't. Right. So well done, Sean. Glad we were able to help. Wish you a fantastic Amazon career. And when you are interviewing, do not forget to send people our way. We know what we're talking about. But well done, dude. Delighted for you. Right. So
done.
let me pick a proper question and then I won't be cheating. Right. There's one. Would you reckon? Now run?
I'm thinking no run, but
No run. Okay.
it's no.
All right. You're guessing in the same way I'm guessing. Okay. Right. You had a panel interview with 5 rounds. Okay. And you were asked 20 questions. Okay. You had prepared 17 situations. So I repeated 3, though they were still relevant. Could this affect my selection? In principle, no. As long as the 3 repeats were good and they were focused on actually answering the question and they weren't just an exact verbatim repeat of what you had said the first time you said it, then shouldn't be an issue. But to be able to diagnose it, I'd literally have to have read the scripts in terms of the data that was captured on you and whether I did or did not think that you'd achieved that. But I wouldn't lose sleep over it. That's a lot of questions. 20 questions is a lot. So yeah, don't worry about it. Don't lose sleep over it. I'm sure it will be fine.
Good.
Okay, you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah. So, question from Shreya. What leadership principles will be important for marketing manager role? Customer obsession, dive deep, high standards. It's hard. It's really hard to know, Shreya, without knowing what's happening in the hiring manager's head. So, from my experience when I was hiring marketing managers, it would be something along the lines of customer obsession, invent and simplify, dive deep, deliver results, ownership, and earn trust, something like that. But to be honest, every hiring manager cuts it the way that they do. I mean, Gigi might share the ones that were important to her, and also it's not just about the hiring manager; it's also about their understanding of that particular role, because there's one marketing manager role, and then there's a different marketing manager role. The business is different, the team is different, the inputs are different. So just take my word on this. Ask your recruiter. If they don't tell you anything, scan the job description. If you can't figure out which ones are important, ask Gigi. She will scan the job description for you. But Gigi, do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, I would have said more or less the same selection that you chose as your priorities. But to your point, every single role will be very different and the focus will be different. Some marketing roles are really, really, really analytical and require really heavy dive deep. Other marketing roles are much more creative roles and require much more think big. So it's really going to be about the job description. Okay, so Raoul has given us a part 2 and a part 3 and a part 4, but I haven't seen part 1. Have you seen part 1?
I'm scrolling up. No, I don't think so.
No, okay. So can we guess what part 1 might have said? Let me just read it. Okay. Okay, I don't know what part 1 said, but let's see if we can work it out in reverse. I like that profile picture. That's funny. Okay, so manager on the duration. Okay, not quite sure what would come before that. It was 1 hour, and our interview got extended further. Okay, so it was quite interesting as well, as my answer was a bit long considering my experience in domain. Okay, recruiter asked technical questions as well, which was not prepared as I had to brush up my technical knowledge, which was done 5 years ago. Okay, right, waiting for the question. I knew the answers but could not answer it fully after 1 hour. I was not fetching much information from my brain considering the stressful environment. Will it affect my results? Okay, so to shorten all of that role is, I think you're saying you had a really good behavioral interview which lasted over an hour, which was great, but then somebody else came along and asked you technical questions which you weren't prepared for. You didn't do so well in that interview, and you're asking me, will it affect your results? Yes. There's no other answer. Of course it will, because they're testing for both behavioral and technical. Now, the question will be, how much do they care about the technical? They may have a discussion in debrief to say, okay, Raul wasn't so great on the technical side. Do we feel that we could coach him? Do we feel we could train him? Do we think we can get him up to speed and hitting the ground fast enough to not be a drag on the rest of the team? So in discussion, they may kind of talk themselves out of any concerns that they have around your technical skills. But if genuinely you did not do well in that technical interview, it is inevitable that it will impact your chances, because they're hiring for both technical skills and leadership principles. But it may not be the end of the world, because they may all be able to convince themselves that they can fill that gap with you on the job if they love you enough when it comes to the behavioral side of things.
Makes sense. All
Okay.
right.
The next one. Oh, right. Got 4 minutes left, so we've probably got time for one, maybe two. But don't
Okay,
go,
cool.
folks,
So
because we've got freebies to give you. So do not
we got
disappear.
freebies. Freebies are coming, folks. Freebies are coming. Okay. Right. So there's another one from Koshagra. My recruiter advised me to focus on the dive deep principle. What behavior questions should I expect? And any tips to stay on track behind using the STAR method? So you should expect questions that are testing your ability to put numbers together, lots of numbers, lots of numbers, and make sense of them. Try to extract insights from numbers, and also to be able to conduct multi-point or multi-level analysis, right? And ideally altogether, things like root causing problems, understanding what's driving what, so those types of questions. And if there's anything that you should do to stay on track behind using the STAR method, to be honest, I mean, I'm biased. Ideally, invest in the Amazon Success System from Day One Careers, in which case we will teach you a more effective interview answer model. But if not, then STAR is as good as any of them. Anything you'd add, Gigi?
Other than we're going to give you a whole bunch of free questions at the end of this session, so that you can then, they're not the real Amazon interview questions, but based on our knowledge and understanding of what Amazon interviewers are looking for, we've created a whole bunch of questions that you can at least practice with. So they're not the exact questions, but they will get you close, and we will give those to you now. Okay, so let's do that. Let's just get the free stuff up. Okay, so because we never know whose side this is on, there we go. Right. So, folks, go get that free stuff. Let me quickly rattle through what is on there for free. So the first thing you can get is, as I mentioned, a list of what we call plausible Amazon interview questions, not the exact questions, but very, very good questions for practicing that we've created ourselves. So go and take that. Second thing that's on there is what we call a kind of taster course. So it's a little flavor of what we have to offer in our paid courses. This taster course focuses on customer obsession, and it takes you through exactly what you need to know to do really, really well in your customer obsession questions. So it gives you a sense of the different lenses that customer obsession is built with. So there are 4 different ways of going into customer obsession that the questions that they'll ask you are going to be built around. So it takes you through those. And it also takes you through what the interviewer is really looking for in your examples of customer obsession to show that you behave in a customer obsessed way. So that's in that particular freebie. And then the third thing that you'll get if you use either of those, if you download either of those, you get access to our Heartbeat community, which is not a Discord community, but it is very similar. You can meet up with other prospective Amazonians and buddy together and do mock interviews. There's also an incredible tool there, which is basically a ChatGPT-4 trained model where we have taken all of our YouTube content and dropped it into that ChatGPT model, so that if you have any questions and you can't be bothered to go through the 240 odd videos that are on the YouTube channel, Andy, which is the name of our bot, will answer that question for you if that information exists anywhere in the YouTube channel. And the truth is, almost everything exists somewhere in that YouTube channel. So it's an amazing resource. If you just have a quick question and you don't want to waste any time on the web trying to search for an answer, you can just go and chat with Andy and he will tell you the answer. Okay, so folks, I'm really sorry we did not get to so many questions this week. We had a really amazing attendance. So if I missed your question and Yevgeny missed your question and you would really, really like the answer, then please just drop a question on the end of any video on the YouTube channel and it will pop up on our app and we will answer it for you there. And if it can wait, then please come back next week and we will aim to answer it for you next week. Okay.
Amazing. Chicken
Does that
dinner
work?
time?
No, actually, no chicken today. It is what is it? It's pork. It's pork.
Nice.
Yes, shredded pork.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah,
Shredded pork. Love.
barbecue shredded pork with jacket potato, sweet potato. I might even have a cider.
Wowza. Who approved?
Yeah. Well,
Amazing. Enjoy the dinner.
Paul's away, so whilst the cat's away, the
Brave one.
mice will play. Thank you for
Amazing.
coming, everybody. We wish you the very, very best of luck if you have interviews coming up. And hopefully we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.